We're on.
And we're live, and we got a complaint that said, don't say we're live, because that doesn't sound very professional. But just for that, we're going to do it every time. So here we are. Live with the Ramen Podcast, Episode 3. Our guests today are Dale McGowen and D.P.R. Jones. We're going to be talking about secular charities, namely Doctors Without Borders and Foundation Beyond Belief. Two of everybody's favorite secular charities. We still don't have official sponsors for the show, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that this one's sponsored by Apostacon and the Carolina Secular Conference. Two very important conferences in September. One is in North Carolina, one is in Omaha. Do yourself a favor, go find those links online, check out the speakers.
We will include the links beneath this video, and that promotional code, you've got 10 days left that you can use that promotional code to give me the credit, and you know.
Yeah, give Aaron the credit.
I would be Groovalicious Hep Daddies if I could get the credit for all these people. That'd be good.
So there you go. For your Apostacon tickets, give Aaron the credit. For the secular Carolina Secular Conference, you can give me the credit if you want, even though we're not doing codes. Be Secular will be at both conferences, actually. Shannon will be there with the table and her pretty face, and she will give you a hug if you ask. So let's get right into the guests. First, we have D.P.R. Welcome to the show, sir. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your secular charity and how people can help out?
Thank you very much for having me. The charity that I support and have done for the last 5 years, this will be the 6th year, is Médecins Sans Frontières. And before I get hate mail, I appreciate my French accent is not very good. I always get hate mail when I try and say it in French. It's also known as, and perhaps more familiar to a lot of the viewers, as Doctors Without Borders. It is a wonderful charity that works in about 60 countries most of the time, giving medical aid to areas where there is conflict, where there is natural disaster, where there's a lack of healthcare provision. And they do it in a secular way. They do not discriminate in any way about any person that is receiving or potentially receiving the aid that they give. For example, in a conflict, they do not take sides. They will help everyone. And one of the things that is important to them is to maintain their independence. So they generally do not accept donations from governments, from businesses, or big organizations. I think I was looking on their website before we started the show. 99.9% of their donations comes from individuals. And this is one of the reasons why I think it is an organization that should be supported, because it is people like you and I, people like those watching, who make a significant difference by contributing to Doctors Without Borders. I won't say MSF anymore. I could go into it in a little bit more detail if you wish, but that's my opening gambit.
Well, thank you for pointing out for Americans in the audience that MSF stands for Doctors Without Borders. I'm sure that would have generated confusion otherwise. I also want to throw in that I enjoyed when you came up with this idea, and I had the pleasure of being involved in the first one. As a matter of fact, I think it was in the first 3. And I know that you had raised over $100,000 in those first 3. And the last one that I was involved in, I was really happy with, because we had Christina Rad, had flown off to Australia. She was doing a TV show in Australia, our own Zomgets Chris, but she went back to her roots. She was at the TV studio in Australia, in Melbourne, I think it was, and she found her way to the green room and kicked on her computer and took up her hour of raising donations, and she was so spirited about it. I was so impressed that you would put that aspect of your life. I mean, you're in a TV studio. They've just interviewed you for broadcast, and you're going to come away and do this for us. And one of the great benefits of that was it being as she was on a TV studio and all of this. When she comes in and she starts doing her bit, it wasn't 3 minutes before Neil deGrasse Tyson walked into the green room with her. And I remember that D.P.R. Jones and I were like perfect fanboys. We were typing frantically back and forth at each other in same-time messages, going, "It's Neil deGrasse frickin' Tyson!" And the nice thing was that he took off his tie, which I recognized as being one of the ties that he wore during the filming of Cosmos, and he put that up for auction to raise money for our charity cause. So that was a great thing. And
it was
only
indeed. It raised $550, which was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I have to give a big thank you to all of those that have contributed over the years. There have been many, and they've all done it willingly. Yeah, Aaron, we've raised so far, I think it's approaching about between $125,000 and $150,000, and it's not insignificant. One of their mobile hospitals, which I don't know whether people have seen the videos, but they're available on YouTube. They go to certain areas and they need to set up a hospital, and so these things come on the back of a lorry, and they basically pump them full of air, they inflate, and they are a mobile hospital. And that we've raised sufficient money to get them an extra 5 of those hospitals. So yeah, whilst in the scheme of things and their entire budget, it may be looked at as not that significant. It does have an impact. It is important, and also it raises awareness. That I think is a crucial thing. And I get touched. I mean, MSF and Doctors Without Borders is massive, and the amount of times that I see news items on the BBC in crisis situations or conflict situations, and they say, "We've got a spokesman here from," and I go, "Oh, it's guaranteed it's going to say Doctors Without Borders, isn't it?" And it does, and it gives me a warm glow, and I hope it gives everyone who has been part of the previous 5 years a warm glow as well. We do make a difference. But I just want to go back, if I may, just to where we started from, because this may be relevant to the conversation as it develops. The reason that I started these things goes back, and I suppose we ought to give some credit to a Christian YouTube user who goes by the name of VenomFangX, who about 5 or 6 years ago was fairly high profile, and he started asking for donations for charity. Firstly for himself, but made a promise. Yeah, him primarily, and he said he was looking for $500 a month, and anything over and above that, he said that he would donate to a children's hospital in Toronto. And it just staggers me. He got so much money in, he realized that he was losing his golden egg, golden goose, so to speak, if he was going to donate all this extra money that he had in to the charity. So he completely changed the terms of his agreement with his audience. And now he wasn't going to donate anything over and above 500. He was going to keep pretty much all of it to himself. I made a series of videos about this at the time because I was absolutely disgusted with his behavior. And I also contacted the hospital involved and various organizations, and it fairly quickly came to an end. But as a result of this, someone suggested to me, they said, "Well, why don't you do a YouTube sort of charity event for real, a proper one, an atheist one that will, get people to donate to a good cause?" And I thought that was a fantastic idea. I looked around at which organisations would be suitable to support. MSF, Doctors Without Borders, was literally top of the list for a number of reasons. It is totally non-discriminatory. It's got nothing to do with religion. It will help religious people. It gives out its aid without discrimination of any sort. And it's also global, and the internet is a global place. So, we've had people from Australia, people from Japan, Europe, North America. I'm not sure whether have we had someone from South America? I'm not sure, but everyone can come together and support this organisation. I will challenge anyone to find a reason not to support Doctors Without Borders. Again, I did some checking before the show started. I made some notes, and forgive me if I look down and refer to them. You can go to a charity checker on the internet. The one I went to was Charity Navigator, and put in any individual charity, and they will give you a report about how good or bad it performs under whatever criteria. And I put in MSF, Doctors Without Borders. It comes up with 4 stars, which is their highest rating. Overall, it's given a 92% rating. Financially, it's given a 91%, and accountability 93%. I won't go into what the breakdown, but what those mean. But I'll give you those figures. Compare that with the Red Cross, which is an organisation most people would be familiar with. This is the America Red Cross. Again, it gets 4 stars, but doesn't score as highly. Overall, 85% compared to Doctors Without Borders, 92%. Financially, 80% compared with 91% for Doctors Without Borders. Accountability is the same at 93%. I thought it would be interesting to put in a few religious charities, and I tried. The difficulty is that a lot of them do not register because they don't return tax information at the end of any, or financial information at the end of any particular year. The best I could find, and it's one of the biggest charities in America, is the Catholic Charities USA, which in each individual score, except for accountability, scored less, 89% in relation to overall, 85% in financial. So, as I say, I don't think you can fault Doctors Without Borders. They are one of the top charities, global charities. So there we are. Again, thank Venom Fang X for this being the 6th year in which we'll be supporting the charity.
Inadvertently doing something good despite himself, or at least prompting something good that he would have nothing to do with. You remember when you're talking about this, we had requested that Ray Comfort participate in one of your annual charities just for the sake of raising money for other people, and we quickly realized that Ray Comfort is not in the business of raising money for other people. He would not be involved in anything that didn't immediately or directly or solely result in profit for him alone. And he refused to take part in this. We made it a public thing. It's not a question about he wasn't aware of the invitation. He fully was, and he denied he wasn't going to take part in this with us. And one of the other things we were talking about accountability is I remember from many years ago, back in my youth, I remember hearing all of these controversies for certain Christian children's charities. There was this thing. You never get any accountability. You could never verify where the money was coming from. And at least with the charity telethon that you're running yourself, I mean, there is a very tiny sliver of necessity for advertising or administration or transmission, I think it is, of funds that actually is being charged by other organizations, so far as I understand it. And then otherwise, apart from this pittance, then it would be otherwise 100% donations go directly to the charity involved. Is that reasonably correct?
That's reasonably correct. But one thing that I've fallen in the mistake of doing, and I want to correct any misapprehension that may have resulted. I have never advertised this as an atheist event, and done so deliberately. Whilst it's obvious that the majority, if not all, of those who normally partake in it are atheists and well known for their atheism, I don't advertise it as an atheist event. I want to make that clear. And if there are any theists who may be watching this who want to take part in it, who want to join the show, then please get in contact with me. We did have one 2 years ago. A person called, whose YouTube name was Together for Peace. His real name, I think, was Jack. I can't remember, and I apologise if I got it wrong. But he willingly took part in it and actually did a really interesting hour with the religious antagonist which was great fun. The two of them sat next to each other. Did a very entertaining hour. So, as I say, the charity does not make any discrimination, and I certainly do not want to do so. People can read into the lineup what they want, but I do not advertise it as an atheist event.
That may be, but it has been in years past a sort of virtual TAM. I remember when Blog TV was still a thing and everybody could chat openly. And I'm really hoping that there's some kind of open chat room for this, because it was so much fun being involved with so many hundreds of people chatting back and forth and having a good time over a 24-hour marathon telethon with people like A.C. Grayling and Matt Dillahunty and James Randi and Lawrence Krauss, and you name them, they were there involved in this charity. And now I understand that when you were talking about bringing in religious people to contribute for this, you have a religious apologist well, I don't want to name his reputation at this moment, but you've got G-Man helping out in this charity event, and I think that's great. That will invite people to pay attention. When you get to see the train wreck that people want to see, I think that's going to be a great fun, and I'm glad he's involved. I want to make a public thank you for your participation in that charity for that reason.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. But I think that the one thing I've missed out on saying, and hopefully there'll be a link in the description. The event, I should tell you about the event. It's taking place over the weekend of the 6th and 7th of September of this year. It's 24 hours, non-stop internet show. Due to the fact that Google Hangouts, which is where it will be broadcast, only allows 8 hours at a time, it's going to be split into 3 parts. So there'll be 3 different Hangouts. But yeah, we've got a pretty impressive lineup. Partly, I'm sorry, if you hear noises in the background, the cats have woken up and they're starting to go mad, so you'll have to apologise if there's distraction. Partly due to Aaron's wonderful work in using the contacts that you have, we've got a very interesting and I think very exciting lineup. I hope the link's in the schedule. Sorry, the link's in the description. That will take you to the schedule, and you'll see who we've got, which includes the likes of James Randi. I mean, who cannot come out and watch him and donate because of the fact that we managed to get him? We hope to also have Silverman. I think the Skeptic Show has got Lawrence Krauss involved as well. But it's not just the big names like that. It's also some wonderful individual people on YouTube as well who will be appearing. But please check it out. As I say, hopefully there will be a link in the description to this video. Just have a look at the schedule, and also the one thing I would invite you please to do, advertise the event as much as you can, whether it's through Twitter, whether it's through doing your own video on YouTube or whatever. Make it known to the public, because that's what's important. The more people we get, obviously, hopefully the more donations we get.
Well, let me ask this question then, because the thing that I liked about what Blog TV was doing was, as I said, it allowed 1,500 or so people that were participating at the time to be in those chat rooms, and all of the confusion and chaos that was going on. If you dared try to survive the whole 24-hour marathon, there was so much stuff going on in those discussion boards, and I felt as if I was in a room full of people, even when I'm sitting at home alone, essentially. You have all of these other things going on. You've got multiple people on camera. I'm hosting or sharing the camera and talking on the microphone while having these conversations with these hundreds of people. And everything seemed so involved, and everything was so upbeat. Do you have, in this venue, the one we're doing now, for your upcoming charity, do you have that same kind of a chat room environment where everybody can feel like they're not just watching something, but that they're actually engaged in it?
Yeah, there are 2 things. Firstly, Google Hangouts are broadcast live onto a YouTube show, so people can comment on the YouTube page in the same way as they could if they were watching a video that wasn't live. They can comment live. But secondly, there's also a Q&A function that Google Hangouts has, and people can post it's supposed to be question and answer, but that would be a way in which people could be involved directly with the live show. Unfortunately, the chat room option, unless somebody can help me out here, Google Hangouts doesn't really give you much opportunity apart from those two things to have live interaction. But as I say, if there is some way of doing it, when we do the Magic Sandwich Show, Aaron, as you'll be aware, I have the Q&A section open on my main computer so I can see people who are posting questions. And I deliberately ask them not to post comments, just questions. What Hogtie does when he's also on the show, he has the YouTube channel open and he's actually looking at live comments that have been posted on the YouTube channel. If there is a better way of doing it than that, then please someone let me know. But as far as I know, that is the limitation that there is on Google Hangouts.
Well, I understand we still have a couple of weeks left to set all this up, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the weekend of the 6th and 7th of September.
And for people that are listening to this afterwards that aren't watching the video live, where should they go initially, at least, to find out more information about this, to find out about the 24-hour broadcasts and things like that, if they're not on YouTube looking where the links are? Because some of them will be listening to it we're on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, all the other places.
There are two places. The first, hopefully, is a link that's included in the description of this video. The second, I would suggest, is going to the Magic Sandwich Show website, www.magicsandwichshow.com. There is a page specifically about this year's event, but please give me an hour after this show ends, because the one thing that I haven't updated on that page is the actual schedule. If you go to that page and then click on the schedule, which hopefully will be up shortly after this show's finished, that pretty much contains all the information that you're going to need. It contains a list of timings, who's going to be hosting, who's going to be co-hosting, what topics. Not everyone's given topics yet, but that sort of information. At the bottom of that, you will also get the two most important links, which are the donation pages that you can go to donate money. And then underneath that, you will also get the links to the YouTube pages that will be showing that particular part. As I say, because Hangouts only does 8 hours, we have to split it into 3 parts, 24 hours, 3 parts, plus an after show. So you also get links to where part 1, part 2, part 3, and the after show is. It's all on that one page. So if there is one page that you can advertise and whatever, that is the page to go to. But as I say, Magic Sandwich Show website is probably your best starting point.
Great. I encourage everyone to go there, share it, as D.P.R. said, on your social medias, make videos about it. It's very important. It's one of the most important things we can do as secular activists and just secular humans that are trying to support a message of goodness and charity without necessarily being associated to religion, is just do things that are good. Donate, volunteer, get involved in your community, show people that we can be good without God, as they say. Dale McGowen, Shannon and I were just at the Humanism at Work conference in July in Chicago. It was the inaugural conference for Foundation Beyond Belief. We both were blown away by the participation, the vendors, the speakers, the warmth of the community. I think it was an awesome kicking off for that conference series. Thank you for being here, and tell us a little bit about the conference and what else is going on with Foundation Beyond Belief.
Well, thanks, Mark. I have to say I was blown away too. I shouldn't say that about my own conference, but it wasn't my doing. It was a really stunning thing to do something that hadn't been done before. There hadn't been a conference of this kind that was specifically about compassionate humanism at work. Usually our conferences are geared more toward the intellectual toward religious critique and all this, and I love going to those. I love engaging in that. But we had an opportunity to say, okay, how can we show what we're doing, what's going on in the humanist community, not just Foundation Beyond Belief, but what are humanists doing around the world to make this world a better place, to put their values into action. And we just started brainstorming about a year before the conference. We said, okay, who would you want to have there? Hey, it'd be great to have Hemley Gonzalez. This is a humanist activist who's working in Calcutta, in the slums of Calcutta, bringing education to kids that otherwise wouldn't have it, and helping lift a lot of the local families out of poverty. It'd be great to have Hemley there. It'd be terrific. Leo Igwe, activist, Nigerian activist in working in Ghana in the witchcraft accusation camps and trying to understand what's going on there and change that culture. It'd be great to have Caroline Fines, who's an evidence-based giving expert in the UK. It'd be great. So we just kind of kept going like this. Sarah Blaine had this fantastic homelessness project a year ago where she lived without shelter on the streets of Phoenix for a month to draw attention to a shelter that was in danger of closing. Carmen Zepp feeds the hungry in Raleigh every Saturday, goes out and gives away food. The problem is that we started sort of checking with these people to see if they'd like to come, and everybody said yes. So we sort of had this ideal roster, and I think in part because it had never been done before. Nobody was tapped out. Nobody was tired of being on the compassionate humanism circuit, right? It's not a worn out circuit, and we ended up getting an astonishing bunch of speakers and an astonishing bunch of stories. We had Rebecca Vitzman, who's now working with the foundation, who lost her home. She's the amazing woman who lost her home to a tornado in Moore, Oklahoma, a little over a year ago now.
Actually, I'm an atheist, right?
And said, yeah, when Wolf Blitzer said, "Don't you just have to thank the Lord?" She said, "Actually, I'm an atheist." And when you hear her tell, for me, that was really one of the peak moments of the conference. When you hear her tell her story and all the layers of just astonishing emotion in that, of having lost your home, almost lost your life and your child, and then all of a sudden are outed on national television when none of your friends and relatives knew what your worldview was. So it's an incredible story, but even more incredible is that she's now leveraging that experience. And she's helping us create a program called Humanist Crisis Responders. And this is a database of individuals. People can sign up on our website and to just say, hey, if there is a disaster that I can get to, I'd like to help on the ground. So we frequently do disaster drives to raise money when a disaster happens. But this is an opportunity for people to go get their hands dirty, to go actually work on the ground. And Rebecca is doing this, and she's bringing a disaster victim's perspective to it, which is extraordinary. The things that the insights that she's gained about what it is that people really need in those cases, as opposed to what they sometimes get, it's really incredible. And she's so intelligent, and she's so passionate about this. So having her share that story and talk about this program in the conference, I thought was just incredible as well. But what amazed me was watching the stuff we had on paper come to life in that conference. I wasn't prepared for the emotional impact of it. I really wasn't prepared for what it was going to be like to put all of that on stage at the same time, just one after another after another. And I think a lot of people, we've just heard from so many people who were there who were just so energized to get involved, which is what we wanted to do. That's what we wanted to do. Go to the conference, hear the stories, and then figure out how you can get involved. I mean, I can't go build a school in Calcutta. I'm not going to do that. I can't go work in the witchcraft accusation camps in Ghana. But what can I do here to put my humanist values to work? That's the idea. And so we had workshops for that. We had a workshop for talking about how to get your local free thought group more involved in volunteering. We've got 95 volunteer teams around the United States right now in the Beyond Belief network. So it was not just high-flying inspiration. I mean, that's definitely a part of it. But it was also very practical, very pragmatic ideas for putting your values to work and joining with other humanists to make the world a better place.
Rebecca Vitzman is such a moving speaker when she comes to this. And the practical applications of what she came up with as a result of that experience is certainly pragmatic, yes. I mean, a very valuable contribution. I had the pleasure of listening to her give that presentation live, and you know that it was such, you know, a defining moment in your life when you're literally running for your life from such a thing. If you haven't caught that, she gave a really moving presentation for Seth Andrews on his show,
yeah.
And I'm really happy that she's applying that experience the way that she is. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure, so are we.
I really liked the Kids Heart Kids with the Uganda education support and the critical thinking support in the Ugandan schools, and the painting that they had auctioned. I think it's being auctioned on the Dogma Debate website right now to raise money for that. I thought that was a great operation too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, this is one of the things that is just so gratifying in this work, is that you have people like you and Shannon, and like Mario and Lila with Kids Heart Kids, getting an idea, saying, here's the way I want to leverage what I know and what I can do and be a part of this movement. It's just a fantastic thing. Yeah, so they have done a lot to raise money and awareness for the Uganda schools. But it's also just incredible to see that Mario is really helping Lila, who is 10 years old, I think. He's really helping put her out front with this and giving her the experience of actually doing this. It's not just a, she's not just a puppet for Dad. She's really coming up with the ideas. She's really doing the, when Foundation Beyond Belief helped to pay for new soccer uniforms for the school, Lila sat down and wrote me a handwritten thank you note for that, which is just fantastic, because there she is involved in doing the thing, but also in that follow through, in closing the loop and making sure that people are know that you're grateful for their assistance. So really a fantastic thing. I agree.
Now, for a while, I had regular donations. When I was working in the corporate world, I had regular donations taken out for charity causes, and the one that I chose, of course, was oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember the name, and I had it a moment ago.
You lost the moment there.
Yeah, I lost that moment. What is it? Is it UNICEF? What is the name of this?
United Way? Is that the one? Or?
Yes. Thank you, UNICEF. Yeah, United Way. That was the one that was being regularly donated when I was in the corporate world, because that one didn't have either the proselytizing behind it, nor did it have, and I'm not saying that just because it's a religious organization that they necessarily have controversies attached, though some did, and I wanted to avoid that. I didn't want there to be an ulterior motive. You're doing something to help other people for the sake of helping other people, and not necessarily to bring Bibles to a starving community. I mean, that's not what they need. They need some actual help.
Right.
I saw this wonderful cartoon about, thanks for sending all the Bibles. They were delicious.
So.
Yes, Mark.
I hit my mute and then I hit it again. So I unmuted, said so, and then remuted. So let's talk about Connor Robinson and the rest of the Pathfinders. I think the most exciting thing of the whole conference for me was finally meeting them and hearing their stories about being on the ground. For anyone that's listening or watching that doesn't know about the Pathfinders Project, tell them a little bit about what they did and what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, glad to. This is one of my favorite parts of what we're doing right now. Pathfinders Project was a one-year preparatory, sort of a pilot project to create an ongoing permanent humanist service corps. This is going to be a global service opportunity, a global service program. And in order to lay the groundwork for that program, we sent this small team of humanists around the world. They actually went to 10 service locations in 8 different countries in the course of a year. And last July, not last July, but July of 2013, they started off working on a project in Los Angeles. Then they flew to Cambodia. They worked in a school for a month, which is called Bridge of Life School. In Cambodia, there's something of a caste system, and frequently kids in the lowest caste don't have the opportunity to go to school. And so this school was built specifically for those kids, and the Pathfinders worked in that school. Then they flew to Uganda and worked in the humanist schools there. They flew on to Ghana to meet up with Leo Igwe, and also with a women's human rights project that was in Ghana at the same time, and worked in the witchcraft accusation camps. They went from there to Latin America, Ecuador, Guatemala. They're going to kill me. Ecuador, Guatemala. Anyway, it's 10:30 here. So several locations where they were working frequently on water sustainability projects. This is one of the main. The Dominican Republic. This is one of the main needs: sanitation systems and also water sustainability systems. And so all this time they're doing the service, but they were also doing research for us. They were helping us to determine what it is that's going to make for a successful service corps. Now, the service corps isn't going to be traveling around the world. What we're going to do is establish local partnerships in individual locations, and then send teams to live there for a period of time. It might be a semester, it might be 9 months, it might be a year, and work on a single project in a single location. Like it might be an irrigation system that's needed in a place or something like that. So they came back. What was it? Not even quite 3 weeks before the conference, they came back to the United States after this year overseas. Connor hadn't shaved his beard or cut his hair in that entire time, so he looks like this otherworldly superhero. And yeah, then we had them get up and share their stories, and it's just amazing what they shared. I didn't know what they were going to share, and they didn't talk about how hard it was for them. They didn't talk about the sleeping conditions or whatever it was. They talked about the cultures that they passed through. They talked about what it was like to be in a service situation where you don't want to be patronizing. You want to go there and you want to do the service, but you don't want to be the riding in on the white horse and taking over and saying, here I am, your savior from the West. So they had this tremendous sensitivity about the complexities of this kind of work, and that's what they're bringing now to. They are reporting in, and Connor's continuing as the program director, bringing all that insight to the Humanist Service Corps. So our intention right now, he's going to work over the course of this bi-year and do the planning. We're going to announce applications. I believe he's planning on that in possibly late November. I'm not quite sure about the timeline. Then selecting the teams and launching the first full year of Humanist Service Corps in July of next year. So that's yet another project that when we started Foundation Beyond Belief, we didn't know that we were going to be doing that 5 years later. It's just the sort of thing that we look for opportunities, we look for what people want to be involved in, and then we look for people like Connor Robinson. He walks in the door and you've got what you need to make something like this work. This tremendously passionate, intelligent guy who is willing to devote a significant portion of his life to this.
One of the things about doing charity for its own sake, one of the moving stories I remember as a young man was, remember Bob Geldof at the Boomtown Rats? Probably.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. He earned the highest order that Britain could give to a non-citizen when he was trying to raise money for starving countries. I think it was African countries, but he was running into bureaucratic issues in trying to get food to the people. I mean, there were many other charity efforts that were having food in the boxes rot on the docks because nobody would transport them, and he was finding issues with the bureaucracy and getting around that. So he hired bombers to launch food out of the bays on parachutes to get them directly to where they were needed. I thought that was admirable thinking.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I like about when these people get involved in other people's lives in another part of the world, when they see what really matters, when they get a sense of perspectives. As I said, when I was in the corporate world, I was talking to somebody that was he was a plastic surgeon in Hollywood, but he had formerly served with Doctors Without Borders, and he said that had that not been for that experience in the third world countries where people are really desperate and where the needs are genuine, he said had it not been for that, he would have been just as vain and vacuous and shallow as anybody else that he worked with. But he said because he had that experience, he said he would never complain about anything so trivial about as a dysfunctional dishwasher ever again. He had a sense of perspective, and he could better appreciate what he has in his own life because of it. Go ahead, boys.
So what's next? Go ahead, D.P.R.
Well, I was looking to add to that. After the first year that we did, which is back in 2008, I think it was. No, must be, yes. I actually seriously thought about giving everything up and going to work for MSF for a year, or 2 years, or whatever. And I looked into it, and obviously because we had the director of MSF UK on the show, Mark D.P.R, I also contacted him to discuss, what possible contribution I could make, and it was really quite devastating to appreciate to be told that I wasn't good enough for them. There was no job I could do. I wasn't medically qualified. I didn't have sufficient technical. Their work is not purely in medicine; it's water sanitation and other things, but whatever area they worked in, I was unqualified for, and it really was quite gutting because I was looking forward to that possibility. So I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not sure where the conversation is heading here, but are we going to be talking about the contrast with religious charities? Is that where we're headed?
No, I was just going to say that, just because you're atheist doesn't mean, that you're not a humanist. I mean, certainly. I mean, we have our moral compass. We have our empathy for our fellow human being. And this is something that we evolved, to have this, where there's a benefit for the society is a benefit for all. And so we have this natural compassion that's built into us for our family, friends, and fellows. I mean, this is innate. It's part of the nature of being a societal species. One of the events that I went to, that I spoke at, was the first atheist conference I think they ever had in Tulsa, Oklahoma. One of the guys speaking there was speaking about his mission to bring sanitized water access to certain African communities where they couldn't get any kind of safe water, and that's what his presentation was about. It wasn't remotely about how much smarter we are than the believers or any of that. He spoke of nothing but the urgency and necessity of clean water for these other communities and seeking donations for that. And we were all about that. It was a great presentation, and he got the results that he needed, and we all feel involved when we can contribute to that because you're making something better. I mean, the way that I see it, if people always tell me that if you don't have a God, then you don't have a meaning to your life. And I'm thinking, well, if you want your life to have meaning, try making someone else's life meaningful.
it's a good point that you brought up, D.P.R, about how they told you that you weren't qualified for some of the jobs. Dale, because when I was speaking with Connor about the people that may be a part of the Pathfinders, I asked him about that specifically because I know that the Peace Corps, for example, they want you to have degrees and things, and he said that he felt like there'd be room for anybody that had the passion to do it, no matter what their skill set was.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. It is not a question of skill set. It's certainly not a question of education, but it is a question of commitment. Of there's going to be an application process and an interview process. Several layers of vetting for individuals who are interested. But we're not. You're correct. We're not vetting for skills or education so much as the ability to pull this off. Is probably the simplest way to put it. Does somebody seem to have the emotional strength to do this? Do they seem to have the maturity to be away from everything that's familiar to them for an extended period of time? There were certainly times in my life when I wouldn't have qualified for that kind of thing. So I don't know if I would qualify now, but that's the sort of thing that they have learned in this past year. They know from living in close quarters with other people and being in unfamiliar situations and changing situations that there's a certain amount of mental and emotional strength that's required to not become a liability for the team, and that's a very different set of considerations than looking at skills or education.
Right. I think that it's, to me personally, it's one of the most ambitious projects, and it's one of the most important projects that we have as secular humanists, because it's real action and it's real impact and it's real time. It's all the things that you could want from a charitable endeavor, with and of course it's secular in nature. I mean, there's not another thing Connor was telling me was that when they were in some of the places, especially in Ghana, I believe, he said that at first some of them thought that humanism was the new religion and they were the new priests of that religion, bringing that in. And it took a while for the people there to really believe that it wasn't about that it was really about helping. And that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a very big deal, and you could see why they would think that, because if that's their only reference point, up to that time, anytime anybody's coming in to help, well, then, where's the, I think he even made a reference to that at one point. He said, you do the work, and then they'd say, okay, now where do we go to church? And then he'd say, no, that's not part of it. There's, we can have a meal together or something like that, but this is just about helping each other. About,
so there's no attached agenda here.
No attached agenda, and that would take some getting used to by people who've only seen that.
There was one other charity that I was involved with that I'm going to bring it up only because it's recent news. The director of Camp Quest, Texas, sent me a moving photograph thanking myself, for Matt Dillahunty, and also David Smalley of Dogma Debate for raising enough donations for their summer camp for kids that they had a banner year, a record turnout, and they showed me this picture that there had to be well over 100 kids in this picture. It was amazing how many they just prompted up for one photograph. And it's moving to be involved in something where any kind of a good benefit comes out of it. And that's the only other charity thing that I've got to donate, so I'm going to mention that. And then I'm going to remind Mark that he has not adequately described Be Secular and the purpose behind that. So take that away, Mark.
Well, thanks. Be Secular was started a couple of years ago, December of 2012. With the idea of how can we get money into the hands of secular charities that don't have money to invest in programs to get money for themselves, other than asking, hey, please just give us money. So we started selling items, giving 50% of the profits to the charities that were on board. The first one was American Atheists, soon followed by Foundation Beyond Belief. They were one of the first ones. And now we have almost 40 organizations that are part of the Be Secular family, both secular artists and nonprofits. And when people buy things online from our website, besecular.com, the NPOs, if selected, get 50% of the profits, and the secular artists can get up to 50%, depending on how many people support them. And then when we go to conferences, like we did with Humanism at Work, we give 50% of the profits to whoever's running the conference if they're an affiliate. So 50% of the profits from the table in Chicago at Foundation Beyond Beliefs conference went to them, and it's really turned into something more than that, though. We started the Common Ground Conversation series with Mark Sandlin, the progressive minister from the God article, with Jerry DeWitt and him speaking about how people that are non-believers and people that are believers can work together on things. It doesn't have to be what's divisive. It can be what's common. And there's so many things that are common when you're working with people that are reasonable. We started to do more networking things about just trying to help people understand the compassionate side of humanism. It's taken on a life of its own, and we really appreciate the support, and we encourage everybody to go to besecular.com, pick out the group they want, buy some gear, and help out these groups. I really didn't expect you to give me an opportunity to talk about it, Aaron. That's not the point of this. I just want to help. Why don't you take a second and tell everybody again about the projects that this podcast is funding real quick. We've got about 8 more minutes. Okay, I think Aaron froze up.
Nope. I was muted.
Okay. Tell us about it, Aaron.
I was contesting you because when else are you going to have that opportunity? I mean, this show, this is their 3rd episode. You haven't used it as a vehicle for anything else. I mean, when else are you going to discuss what it is that you're doing on the side and how important that is?
Well, I appreciate it. I like to send people emails and Facebook messages and tell them, hey, share my stuff. That's what I do to people. That's how I promote my own messages. But I'm proud to be part of the podcast. I'm proud to have the guests on here like D.P.R. and Dale. I feel like we're doing some good things, but quit trying to push it back to me. Tell people what's going on with you and the homeschool.
With me in the homeschool group? Is that what you said?
No, the study guides, the study materials you're using to help kids learn about evolution and
I'm about to upload
and all that.
Yeah, by this time tomorrow, I will upload the 2nd one in that series. The first one we did was talking about what was the meaning of the word life, just come up with a definition of life. We've upped our game a little bit. So that we've got some green screen, we got some better sound, we have some care for the acoustics. We're going to raise our scale value, and I'm going to try to continue doing this. The next video in the series discusses experimentation and historical examples about how scientists were in the 16th through 18th through 19th centuries and how they were very different than we are, how the scientific method was devised, and using the specific question of where life comes from, so that we're comparing spontaneous generation to abiogenesis and the different applications and experiments involved in that. That's going to be a 2-part thing. I'm really happy with what I've got. I'm ready to upload it to my channel. I just need to give a preview as required by my patrons, but this is not, what I'm doing is not what I would consider a charity. That's why I wanted to keep focused on the whole charity thing, but since we are in the last few minutes, let me also state that, Dale, the people that you listed are the type of people that I want to talk to. They're the type of people that I want to talk to on this show. Those are the people that I enjoyed talking to on Dogma Debate. They're the people I enjoy talking to most on the Magic Sandwich Show. Everybody complains and anyone can criticize any idea that anyone might propose. But it's quite a different thing to not only propose a solution, but also be acting on it. So for all the viewers, if you want to help me build a good show out of this and have good, interesting guests that are going to stimulate conversation and have a little bit of a positive aspect to the things that we talk about, so that we're not just bashing religion and that sort of thing, then ask yourself, who do you know who's trying to fix things and who might actually make a difference? Because I'm probably going to want to talk to that person.
Have them email the ramenpodcast@gmail.com. You can send nominations there. If you want them to come on the show and tell Aaron and I and the world about what they're doing and how they're making an impact, we want to talk to people who are not being talked to. We want to talk to people that are making a difference. We want to help them get their message out. We want to help them be successful, and that's what this is going to be all about. Real quick here at the end, reminders, go to foundationbeyondbelief.org. Check out all the things that they have going on, the Pathfinders Project, the Humanism Service Corps, the Crisis Response, all that. Go to themagicsandwichshow.com. Find out about the Doctors Without Borders fundraisers. Shannon and I will be speaking at the Pennsylvania Atheist Conference Labor Day weekend. Come see us if you're in the area. We'll also be speaking at the Florida Free Flow Conference in October. We're really excited about that. Shannon will be at Apostacon. She will also be at the Carolina Secular Conference. So we got a lot of things going on. Aaron, what's coming up for you in the next month or two as far as appearances?
I have a busy month coming up ahead of me. I'm going to be doing the charity Doctors Without Borders, Médecins Sans Frontières, with D.P.R. Jones and Jacqueline Glenn and David Silverman and James Randi and Matt Dillahunty and a whole lot of other people, and it's going to be a great time. I challenge anybody to try to survive that entire 24-hour period, because at some point somebody has to text D.P.R. Jones to wake him up before it's over. And then that's the first weekend in September, and then after that I will be at Zetidicon in Fargo, North Dakota, believe it or not. After that, we're going to be doing a workshop on the weekend of the 19th in Omaha, Nebraska for Apostacon. Once again, the link is going to be down in the bottom here. Please use my promo code. And then after that, we're going to be in East Texas, in Nacogdoches, with Matt Dillahunty again, and Beth Presswood, and Kathleen Jansen. And we're actually going to make that a motorcycle run, by the way. So if anybody's going to want to run out from Dallas to Nacogdoches and you want to ride with us, that's what we're going to do. But anyway, that's my month of September. And now I would like to hear from our guests. And Dale, I never hear from you. So do you have anything really splashy to end with?
Splash it in with. Well, I have a number of conferences I'm going to in the next couple of months. But for the foundation, we actually, I'm trying to decide if I can announce this now or not, but we've got something exciting coming up. I can. We have something exciting coming up in the fourth quarter of this year. We're actually planning to, for the first time, combine all of our grant dollars into a single mega grant for one organization in the fourth quarter of this year. So ordinarily we give 5 grants per quarter. Instead, we're doing what's called the Compassionate Impact Grant. We're very carefully selecting an organization right now that's going to be the sole beneficiary of a grant between $50,000 and $65,000 in the fourth quarter of this year. So that's something we're very excited about, and it's we're going to be launching that and announcing it in the first week of October.
Outstanding.
You told us what you were going to be doing. You didn't say who it was going to be. Is that because you haven't found out, or because you don't want to leak it?
We are currently in a very we've actually created a really dynamic process for selecting this organization, a really terrific, careful, evidence-based process. And so we don't have the organization yet, but we do have several finalists that we're vetting right now. We will actually know in about a week, I think, which one it's going to be, and then we'll announce it at the beginning of October.
And you'll come back on and talk to us about that.
Happy to do that, yeah.
All right. D.P.R., tell us a little bit more where people should go, what they should be doing before we get out of here.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I just wanted to say I'm obviously not a representative or spokesperson for MSF, Doctors Without Borders. I would simply encourage people to consider contributing to the show through donations. But what we've obviously seen this evening in the last hour is that there are many, many ways in which humanists, secularists, atheists can make significant differences by contributions. Obviously, I'm encouraging people to support the event over the 6th and 7th of September, but there are many other ways you can support the movement in general. I just happen to choose MSF, Doctors Without Borders, as my preference. But yeah, do whatever you can. I think you can be good without God is the message that we need to get across.
And I have one last thing to contribute to that. I had asked Todd Stiefel of the Stiefel Foundation to participate in tonight's show, and he said that he could not because he's doing a charity telethon of sorts, or not a telethon. He's doing something for charity tonight. He said it's a Science of Beer event where he's visiting a dozen breweries to raise money for the local science museum.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's fantastic.
We'll take a rain check on Stiefel coming on. So
why don't I get invited to those kind of shows?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We should have a beer-a-thon, ramen podcast beer-a-thon.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening, and thank you for watching, if you're watching. Thank you again to our guests, Dale McGowen and D.P.R. Jones. Go to Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at the Ramen Podcast. Follow Aaron's Facebook page on Facebook /AronRa, and on YouTube /AronRa. You can find us on Spreaker at Spreaker.com /The Ramen. Same on SoundCloud. And on iTunes, just search for the Ramen Podcast. We're all over the place, so there's no reason you shouldn't be subscribing, listening, sharing, and donating to the charities we talked about tonight. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys. And one last thing is next episode.
Oh yeah.
We will be talking with Victoria Getman and Debzilla Beenan.
Yes.
Debzilla. They're humanist chaplains on an American military base, and they're going to talk about the creation and the experiences of the humanist group, of being a part of the humanist group, a pioneer group on a U.S. Air Force training base at Lackland, and they've just celebrated their first-year anniversary. They've got some good stories for us, so I'm looking forward to that. That's 2 weeks from tonight, and thank everybody, and I'm going to close the show.
All right, do it. Shut it down.